My sister took my 7-year-old daughter's hair, leaving her bald. Now you look like your father's failure, she said, while my nieces laughed. The next day, her account was frozen and the bank repossessed her house. I'm Antonio, a 38-year-old man who has always believed in family. My life hasn't been perfect, but I can proudly say I've worked hard to build something solid, a wonderful wife, Jimena, and a daughter, Isabella, who is my whole world. I live in a quiet town, have a good job as an accountant in a construction company, and although I'm not a millionaire, we've never lacked anything. But this story isn't about me, or at least not just about me. It's about my younger sister Jessica and what she did to my daughter. Jessica is 35 years old. We've always had a complicated relationship. As children, we were close, but as we grew up, something changed in her. She always seemed to want what I had, as if my happiness bothered her. When I married Jimena, Jessica made sarcastic remarks at the wedding, saying I was sure to get divorced soon because Jimena was too good for me. I tried to ignore it, thinking it was just her way, but over time, things got worse. Jessica married young, at 22, to a guy named Ruben, a man I never liked. He was lazy, always looking for shortcuts to make money without working. They had 2 daughters, Sophia, 9, and Lucia, 8, but the marriage didn't last. 3 years ago, Ruben left for another woman, leaving Jessica alone with the girls. Since then, she's been struggling to get by. She worked in a hair salon, cutting and dyeing hair, but her salary barely covered the basics. As the older brother, I always felt like I had to take care of her. When she got divorced, Jessica didn't even have enough to pay for her utilities, so I told her not to worry. I would help. I paid the mortgage for the modest but comfortable house she bought with a bank loan. I also sent her money every month for utilities, food, the girls' clothes, and even her personal expenses. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough so they didn't go without. Jimena always supported this, although sometimes she'd tell me that Jessica should look for a second job or be more responsible with her money. I told her I couldn't leave her alone. She's my sister, and the girls didn't ask for any of this. But over time, I started to notice things. Jessica never said thank you. She never showed appreciation for what we did for her. Instead, she always had something to criticize. If we bought a new car, she'd say we were showing off. If we took Isabella on vacation, she'd complain that some of us weren't so lucky. At first, I let it slide, but little by little, I realized it wasn't just bitterness, it was envy. Jessica envied my life, my family, my stability, and though she never said it out loud, it started to hurt me. Isabella, my daughter, has always been a sweet, cheerful girl with long, brown, shiny hair like her mother's. She was always very close to her cousins, Sophia and Lucia, even though Jessica wasn't always kind to her. Sometimes, when I'd drop Isabella off at Jessica's house to play with the girls, she'd come back saying that Aunt Jessica scolded me for touching her things or Aunt Jessica said my dress was ugly. I'd tell her not to pay attention, that her aunt was stressed, but deep down, those things bothered me. Everything changed one Saturday. It was a little friend of Isabella's birthday, and she was excited because she was going to a party at a play center. She wanted to look like a princess, she told me. Jimena had to work that day, so I decided to take Isabella to Jessica's salon for a special haircut. I thought it would be a good idea. Jessica was good with hair. I couldn't deny that. So, I called Jessica and said, "Jessica, I want you to make Isabella look like a princess. It's a special occasion. Cut her hair as beautifully as you can. I'll leave extra money so you don't have to worry about anything." She responded with her usual dry tone, "All right, leave her with me, but don't come too late, I have things to do." I didn't pay much attention to her attitude. I took Isabella to her house, which was a few blocks from the salon because Jessica said she preferred to cut Isabella's hair at home. Isabella was happy in her little pink dress and sparkling shoes. I kissed her on the forehead and told her I'd be back in a few hours. I was going to run some errands and finish some paperwork at the office. "Behave, my love. You're going to look beautiful," I told her. She hugged me and smiled. I never imagined what I would find when I came back. It was 5 p.m. when I returned to Jessica's house. As I approached the door, I heard something that froze my blood, a cry. It was a heartbreaking cry, as if someone were suffering. At first, I thought one of the girls had hurt herself, but then I recognized the voice. It was Isabella. Before I went in, I heard Jessica shouting, "Now you look like your father's failure, bald and horrible, just like him," and then laughter, Jessica's laughter, Sophia's, Lucia's. I didn't understand anything, but my instincts told me something was very wrong. I slammed the door open, and what I saw took my breath away. Isabella was sitting in a chair in the middle of the living room, her head lowered. At her feet was a pile of hair, her hair scattered on the floor like trash. When she lifted her face and I saw her, my world collapsed. She was completely bald. Jessica had shaved her head, leaving not a single strand. My little girl, my princess, had red eyes from crying, and her face was filled with shame and pain. Jessica stood beside her with a razor in her hand, laughing as if it were the funniest joke in the world. Sophia and Lucia were behind her, pointing at Isabella and mocking her. "Look, look, she looks like an egg," Sophia said, laughing. "How ugly," added Lucia, covering her mouth to hide her giggles. I don't know how to describe what I felt at that moment. It was a mix of rage, disbelief, and a pain that burned in my chest. I approached Isabella and hugged her tightly. She clung to me, shaking, and through her sobs, she said, "Daddy, why did she do this to me? I just wanted to look pretty." My voice came out like a roar. "What did you do to my daughter, Jessica? What happened to you?" Jessica stopped laughing, but she didn't seem sorry. She crossed her arms and looked at me with disdain. "Calm down, Antonio. It was just a joke." I told her I was going to give her a modern cut, and look, she looks unique, she said with a mocking smile. "A joke? You shaved my daughter's head. You humiliated her. How dare you?" She shrugged as if it weren't a big deal. "Don't be dramatic. It's just hair. It will grow back. Plus, that girl is always showing off with her long hair, like my daughters aren't as beautiful as her." That was like a stab. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Showing off. She's a 7-year-old girl. She just wanted to feel pretty for a party, and you, her aunt, make her go through this out of envy. You're sick. Jessica got furious. She started shouting, pointing at me with her finger. "Don't come at me with this envy crap. You're the one always showing off your perfect life, your perfect wife, your perfect daughter, while I'm here, enslaved, raising my daughters alone without a penny, because my brother, the big man, thinks everything is solved with his little money. I pay for everything, Jessica, the house, the food, your daughter's clothes, everything, and this is how you repay me. Humiliating my daughter. You're ungrateful." "Well, too bad, Antonio. If it bothers you so much, don't give me anything else. I don't want your charity." "Don't worry, you won't have it anymore," I shouted, losing control. Isabella kept crying in my arms, and each sob felt like a hammer in my heart. I lifted her up, wrapped her in my jacket to cover her head, and headed for the door. "This isn't over, Jessica. I swear, this isn't over." She laughed a bitter laugh. "What are you going to do, Antonio? Stop being the perfect brother. Go, take your bald daughter and leave me in peace." I left that house, shaking with rage. Isabella wouldn't stop crying, and I didn't know how to console her. I took her to the car and hugged her with all my might. "My love, everything is going to be okay. You're beautiful, with or without hair. No one can take that from you. Do you hear me?" But she didn't respond. She just cried, hiding her face in my chest. When we got home, Jimena came out to greet us. When she saw Isabella, she froze. She knelt down in front of her and hugged her, but Isabella didn't look at her. She was like a shell, as if part of her had shut down. I told Jimena everything, and her face went from disbelief to fury. How could she do this to our daughter? She's a child, Jessica's crazy. That night, we tried talking to Isabella. We told her we would take her to the doctor to check her scalp, that her hair would grow back, that she was the most beautiful girl in the world, but nothing worked. She didn't want to go to the birthday party. She didn't want to see her friends. She just wanted to lock herself in her room and cry. "They're going to call me bald," she whispered, looking at the floor. "Everyone's going to laugh at me." We broke her heart. Jessica didn't just take her hair, she took her confidence, her joy, everything that made Isabella that special little girl. The next day, I made a decision. I opened my bank account and canceled all the automatic payments I had been making to Jessica, house payments, utilities, deposits for her expenses, everything. I wasn't going to keep supporting someone who had hurt my daughter like this. The following days were hell for us. Isabella stopped eating properly. She barely took a bite, and when she did, it was because Jimena and I begged her. She didn't want to go to school, saying the kids would make fun of her. She stopped going out to play with her friends, and her laughter that once filled the house, disappeared. We tried everything. We bought her a wig, but she took it off crying, saying it looked fake. We took her to a psychologist, but Isabella barely spoke in the sessions. She was broken, and I felt helpless. Jimena and I spent the nights talking, trying to find a solution. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. While we tried to rebuild Isabella's trust, my anger towards Jessica didn't fade. Every time I saw my daughter looking at herself in the mirror with sadness, touching the place where her hair used to be, I felt like something inside me was breaking. But I was also determined, Jessica wasn't going to get away with this. Canceling the payments was just the beginning. I wanted her to feel what it was like to have nothing, just as she had made my daughter feel. 2 weeks later, the calls started. Jessica called me again and again, leaving furious voicemail messages. At first, I didn't answer. I didn't want to hear her excuses. But one day, while I was at the office, my phone rang, and I saw her name on the screen. Something told me I had to answer, if only to make it clear that there was no turning back. I picked up, and her voice hissed through the receiver. "Antonio, what's wrong with you? They cut off my water and electricity. I don't have a penny in my account. Why are you doing this to me?" She screamed, as if she were the victim. I laughed a cold laugh that even I didn't recognize. "Why am I doing this? You have the nerve to ask me that after what you did to Isabella? You shaved her head, Jessica. You humiliated her. You made her feel worthless. And now you're asking me why I'm not taking care of you like you're some queen. It was just a joke, Antonio. I told you it was a joke. You're going to destroy my life for a haircut." Her tone was a mix of rage and desperation. "No, Jessica, it wasn't a joke. It was cruelty. And no, I'm not destroying your life. You destroyed it yourself. Get a decent job. Do something for yourself. But don't expect another cent from me. You're selfish. You always have been. You think you're better than everyone because you have money. My daughters are suffering because of you," she screamed, trying to manipulate me. That lit a fire in me even more. Your daughters, the same ones who laughed at my daughter while she cried. Don't come at me with that, Jessica. Teach them to be better people, because clearly, they didn't learn that from you. And don't call me anymore. I don't want to know anything about you. I hung up the phone with my heart pounding, my hands trembling, but at the same time, I felt a weight lift off me. For years, I had carried the responsibility, thinking it was my duty as a brother. But now I saw clearly, Jessica had never valued my help. She just used me, and when she had the chance, she attacked what I loved most. Isabella was still sinking. The psychologist told us she needed time, that the trauma from the humiliation wouldn't go away overnight. We tried everything. We read books to her, we took her to the park, although she refused to play. We bought her toys, but nothing lifted her from her sadness. One night, as I was tucking her in, she said something that shattered me. "Dad, why does Aunt Jessica hate me?" I didn't know how to respond. I just hugged her and told her it wasn't hate, that Jessica was wrong, that she was perfect just the way she was. But in my mind, I swore Jessica would pay for every tear my daughter shed. A month later, Jessica called again. This time, her tone was different. She wasn't yelling. Her voice was broken, almost pleading. "Antonio, please listen to me. I have nothing. The bank sent me notices that they're going to take my house. I have nowhere to go with the girls. Help me, please, you're my brother." For a second, I felt a pang of guilt, but then I remembered Isabella crying, her hair on the floor, Jessica's laughter, and her daughter's mocking. The guilt turned to contempt. Now I'm your brother. Where was that affection when you humiliated my daughter, when you called her ugly and made fun of her? No, Jessica. You have no right to ask me for anything. What's happening to you is your fault. Figure it out yourself. Please, Antonio, it was a mistake. I was angry. I didn't think about what I was doing. Forgive me. She sobbed on the other end of the line. A mistake. You call shaving a 7-year-old's head, making her feel worthless, a mistake. There's no forgiveness for that, Jessica. And I'll tell you this clearly, I don't want to see you again in my life. Don't look for me anymore. I hung up and blocked her number. That was the last time I spoke to her. A few weeks later, I found out that the bank had repossessed Jessica's house. She couldn't pay the payments, and since I had been covering the costs for years, she had no way to negotiate. They evicted her along with Sophia and Lucia. I also learned that Ruben, the girl's father, had asked for custody, claiming Jessica couldn't support them. A judge sided with him, and the girls went to live with him. Jessica was left alone with no house, no daughters, no nothing. I'm not going to lie, part of me felt satisfaction. It wasn't just revenge. It was justice. Jessica had crossed a line that couldn't be undone, and now she was facing the consequences of her actions. While Jessica fell, we fought to lift Isabella. It was a tough few months. The psychologist helped us a lot, suggesting activities for Isabella to regain her self-esteem. Slowly, we began to see changes. Her hair started to grow back, first soft, then in short strands. Jimena taught her how to style it with scarves and headbands, and although at first Isabella resisted, over time, she started smiling when she looked in the mirror. One day, while we were having breakfast, Isabella said something that filled us with hope. Mom, Dad, I think I want to go back to school. Jimena and I looked at each other, holding back tears. We took her that first day, and though she was nervous, her friends welcomed her with hugs. Some kids asked about her short hair, but Isabella, with a bravery that filled me with pride, told them, I cut it because I wanted to try something new, and I like it. That was my girl, regaining her strength. Over time, she became the Isabella she once was, cheerful, playful, full of life. She started going to birthday parties again, playing with her friends, singing her favorite songs at the top of her lungs. Her hair grew down to her shoulders, and although sometimes she'd touch her head, as if remembering, she no longer did so with sadness. One day, months later, Jimena, Isabella, and I went to the city center to buy a gift for a cousin's birthday. We were walking down a street full of stores when I saw her. It was Jessica, sitting on the sidewalk with a plastic cup in front of her, asking for change. She was unrecognizable, her hair disheveled, her clothes dirty, her face sunken. For a moment, I doubted if it was really her, but when she looked up and saw me, I knew it was. Antonio, she shouted, standing up. Look what you've done to me. Because of you, I'm here on the street. You're a monster. People around us started looking. Jimena took Isabella's hand, but my daughter didn't seem scared. She looked at me, waiting for my reaction. I took a deep breath and responded calmly but firmly. No, Jessica. I didn't do anything to you. You did this to yourself. You humiliated my daughter, you took her joy away, and now you're where you deserve to be. Don't blame me for your decisions. She started shouting insults at me, calling me a bad brother, saying I abandoned her. But her words didn't affect me. I took a 50 coin from my pocket, handed it to Isabella, and whispered in her ear, "Give it to that lady, my love." Isabella, with a mix of bravery and cheekiness, walked toward Jessica and dropped the coin into her cup. The sound of the coin hitting the bottom of the cup echoed in the air. Jessica stood there in silence, glaring at us with hatred. We turned around and walked away, laughing together as if it were a private joke. Today, months after everything that happened, I can say that we are free. Isabella is stronger than ever. Her hair is long again, and her smile lights up our house. Jimena and I continue to work on our family, grateful for every small moment of happiness. I don't think much about Jessica anymore. I don't know where she is, and I don't care to know. What I do know is that my daughter learned a tough but valuable lesson that no one, not even family, has the right to make you feel less. Sometimes, when Isabella laughs or hugs me, I feel that it was all worth it. Justice doesn't always come the way you expect it, but when it does, it's sweet. Jessica tried to destroy us, but all she did was make us stronger. And now, my family and I are moving forward, free from her shadow. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel.